it's really important that because so much of our budget is dedicated to these efforts that we keep track of it. In fact, 87% of our budget is dedicated toward these surveillance activities and programmatic activities, which puts CDC in a very unique position. We have to have a clear picture of our grantees' efforts, and we also need to be able to better support these tribes and local and state health departments so that we can maintain the investments that we get. And that's another reason why we wanted to develop this knowledge management system so that we can do that. Some of the other systems that I've heard about today, this is on a smaller scale, but it's in its very early stages, and we've had some success that I'll talk to you about today. The system is right now responsible for post-award management and oversight. So once our grantees receive their awards, they enter their information into the SIDNES, and we're able to track the activities that they are engaged in. The system also has several unique features. We heard a lot from our grantees that they were really tired of having to develop all these lengthy Word documents to upload their information into grants.gov. So this system actually produces the interim and annual reports in PDF format that the grantees upload into grants.gov. They can also print PDF forms of their work plan activities and their action plan summary, so when they have questions and inquiries come from their stakeholders, they can go right into the system, pull it out, and deliver it, and it's in one place. We also are allowing the ability for our CDC staff to be able to not search, but search across the activities of our grantees using the system. So a little bit about our history before developing SIDNES. As I mentioned to you before, we had 9 divisions, and our divisions were working in silos. Each division developed their own management information system. They had their own way of collecting information. Yep. I'm sure most of you are familiar with that, but the same exact thing was going on at the Centers for Disease Control. Yes. So we heard from a variety of our stakeholders, our project officers, our subject matter experts, our grantees, that this was not the way to do things. Our grantees received a lot of complaints from them. You know, we're tired of having to go into 8 different MIS systems to upload our information. You need a better way to let you all know about what we're doing. And so that was one thing. Our project officers, while they were used to their particular work process, it was actually very daunting on them. They were using lots of Word documents and emails and listservs and division-specific servers and share drives to locate information about their grantees. There was no streamlined way to get the information. And then even our chronic disease center leadership, needed timely and actionable information. It took forever for divisions to be able to manually pull this information together. So, the first thing that, and I would consider one of the first successful pieces to put in SIDNES together was actually getting our divisions to collaborate or socialize. I think that sounds a little fun. Actually collaborate and talk. It's really interesting that although we were in the same center and we talked often, there was not a coordinated approach for doing so. And so what we did, we got everybody together. We said we need to sit down and have a conversation. Where are the similarities? What are the differences? Let's talk about it and come to some conclusions. Now, I'm talking about that as if it was very easy, and it was not at all. No. Not at all. Identifying who we needed to have at the table, who wanted to be at the table, who had time to be at the table to come to bi-weekly meetings to discuss all these things, was very, very, very interesting process. But that was the first thing we did. We got everybody to the table to determine what the needs and interests were of the group. I'm sure many of you are familiar with this picture and have seen it in your office before knowledge management systems came about. But again, just these are some of the things that we heard from those groups once we brought them to the table, that they needed a streamlined process of documenting all the tons and tons of paper that they had. One hesitancy for a lot of our divisions when coming to the table was to compromise. It's kind of like parents. You know, parents, they have their child, and they think their particular child is the smartest child in the world. This was a very similar situation. Our divisions had systems, and they thought their system was the best system in our division, and it was the right way to do things, and their language was different, or captured things in a better way than another division did. And when we had to sit them down at the table and talk, we actually found out that everybody was capturing the same information. We were just using different language for doing so. So, for an example, in our division of nutrition and physical activity, they captured information on grantees' work plans. Where the Office of Smoking and Health captured information on grantees' action plans. Tomato, tomato, potato, potato. But things like that were keeping us from collaborating before, and we never knew that. That it's just simple things like finding out where we align. Also, in addition to us having these many different MIS systems, everyone wanted to keep their particular information in. We had a mantra that extended throughout the strategic planning process, and that was this: if it's nice to know, it's got to go. It cannot be in there. And of course, there was longer discussions around what needed to go and what needed to stay in. But this really resonated with a lot of our advisory panelists. They found that 85% of the information that they needed to know was the same. And then there was a small percentage, maybe 20%, that was a little bit different. And we worked with a contractor. Our situation was a little different. Our budget was a little bigger. But the contractor was able to talk to us and get that information to develop a system that allowed for those minor pieces of flexibility. Our third success strategy was having a visual leadership commitment, similar to what was seen in the division of, the fusion of innovation theory. We had really early adopters that led the way. That group of passionate staff that you talk about, we had that as well in our division. This is the best thing since sliced bread. And so we had them join the system first. We used those groups to communicate success of the system to the other divisions. They were able to speak to the problems that, for example, project officers were having in our center. Our project officers actually work with our state. So they were able to speak to those problems. They were able to speak to some of the issues that grantees were encountering. And so they were actually able to lead the way. We also had this later majority that came in. And they were like, no, I really don't want to use this system. I'll have to teach my grantees how to do something new. And it's just too much training for me. I don't want to have to go through that. So unless center leadership tells me I have to, then I'm not going to do it. What kind of position does that put you in? And it put us in a really interesting one. So it's like, how do we get people to join this system and it's really beneficial to them? What it came down to was us actually, again, going back to that small group in the beginning who were able to talk to how the system helps streamline their activities in their business processes. We kept going back to them. We had their grantees talk to project officers and other project officers, so the work just spread slowly. We also had a conversation with our senior leadership. Our senior leadership was very aware of activities that were going on outside of our center, that was going on in the agency, and they were able to allow us to know how that was going to impact our center later. So while we didn't get a yes, you have to do this, they had a very visual presence in all of our advisory panel meetings. Any other type of meeting or session that we had in the center, they were there and said that this is a step in the right direction. And it went so far. I mean, so far just getting people to come on and join the system. So, the road ahead. Like I mentioned before, it's just starting. I know there will be challenges along the way. There are some things that we expect the system to allow us to do that we couldn't do before. For an example, integrating across risk factors, being able to do that type of analysis. So, for an example, seeing how tobacco initiatives and tobacco policies impact cancer initiatives and outcomes in cancer. We like to be able to look across objectives and things that our grantees are doing to be able to do that. We're also putting in a budget module to see how the amount of money that grantees receive, how that is able to impact the activities that they're able to do. So we have a couple of things coming down the pipeline along the way. We have not used social media outlets so far in this system, as far as videos Twitter, Facebook, all the fun social pieces we haven't. We haven't done that collaboration pieces. But we have a great staff of people in the Office of Informatics, champions, and our project officers who have been champions in this effort and continually communicate the needs of those types of activities. So that is it. I think I'm out of time, or
yeah.
All right. Well, thank you.
Okay, so this is a good photo leading to the next one, the road ahead. Jean Shan is with the Virginia Department of Transportation. Can we get in there, okay? Okay. Dr. Shan has been there since 2004. He brings extensive educational experience and expertise to the program and the position, having worked from high school to the graduate school level on curriculum design and development, educational training and instruction, pedagogical theory, and practice. He has several years of experience with qualitative research and business process management methodology, having worked to develop process analysis and improvement at PRA, a multinational contract research organization. He leads the business process management work that has resulted in improved environmental processes, as well as the definition of VDOT's command and control approach to emergency response. Do I need to keep talking, or are we up?
You're good.
Okay.
Okay.
We good?
Okay, thank you. And one thing you'll notice is not in my bio is any facility with IT. So that's why I have to bring my own computer to run this presentation. So we'll see if it works all right. Oh, can't even type in my password. There we go. Okay. Now. Oops.
Do you need to
No, hold on.
Well, I was laughing when you were talking about the people that waited for the mandate. In our agency, we have people known as weebies. We be here before you came, and we be here when you leave. So,
Okay.
yay.
All right, thank you for your patience. Okay, learning to manage what you know. Applying business process management in a knowledge management context. All right, learning. It's the word learning I'd like to begin with because that's why we're here, right? We've just heard two wonderful case studies describing what's working in KM. I'm going to present a third, but I'm also going to shift the focus a little bit from what worked to why it worked. Okay? So I'm going to talk about that most prosaic of government agencies, the Department of Transportation at a state level, and the driest possible activity, business process management, in order to make the case that the key to creating a useful link between individual knowledge and institutional knowledge can be found in the relationship between thinking and metaphor. That's a little different. So I'm going to begin with this question. Can an institution know something? It's a very metaphorical question. So I'm going to start by going all the way back to Aristotle, who said, accordingly, it is metaphor that is in the highest degree instructive. What we like are those that convey information as fast as they are stated, or that our minds like only a little behind. With the latter two kinds, there is some process of learning. But how does metaphor help us learn? Well, let's talk about knowledge management for a second. What is knowledge management? We all have answers. You're going to hear a lot of answers. You've already heard several answers today. But whenever I'm asked this question, actually, what do? I usually just say knowledge management, because I love watching people get this look on their face. Okay? But then I'm stuck because it's hard to come up with a concise statement of what exactly that is.